What if you had to survive while working for a corporation that offers only the bare minimum? That got me wondering, can you beat Fallout New Vegas as a Spacer's Choice employee? Let's find out.
And it's not the best choice, it's Spacer's choice. Taste the freedom.
My name is pretty simple, Martin, and I kept my face as simple as possible. Alright, now let's go over the stats. Since my character is a corporate lackey, I had to make sure my stats aligned with the board's expectations. Strength 4, we can't be stronger than those at the top. Perception 5, just enough to follow orders. Endurance 6, not too high, not too low, just enough to survive corporate life. Charisma 8, because we must be happy at all times, whether we want it or not. Intelligence 6, same reason as strength, thinking too much could be dangerous. Agility 4, so we can outmaneuver depression. Barely. And luck 7, because, well, Spacer's Choice runs on luck anyway. As for my initial skills, they were Barter for negotiations, energy weapons because I was planning on using only the recharger rifle, and speech for specific situations. I wasn't really sure about my traits, so I just selected Good Nature and Wild Wasteland. Because Spacer's Choice is the best choice, I dropped all my weapons and armor that came with the DLC, keeping only the healing items. Alright, while I make my way out of Good Springs to find a recharger rifle, let's go over the rules. First, I'm not allowed to use the recharger rifle, and the reason is simple. Just like Spacer's Choice, it's not the best, but it functions. Second, my outfit is limited to the Spacer suit, which can be found at Repcon. Third, I must side with Mr. House. House is the equivalent of the board in New Vegas, which makes him my boss. And 4, companions. I allowed myself to use 2 of them, treating them like employees hired to help me achieve my goal. And that's all she wrote. Now, there were 2 places where I was sure I could find a recharger rifle. First, at Silver Rush, but I didn't want to steal and I could afford to buy one. Then I left the Repcon test site as my second option, where you usually find one on one of that follower's corpuses. With that in mind, I accepted Manny's quest to get rid of the ghouls, and even though the pharaohs were, well, annoying, I, on the other hand, was lucky. I found a recharger rifle on one of the corpuses next to a mutant. Okay, now that I had a functional weapon, was it good? Well, yes and no. The recharger rifle deals decent damage, and the fire rate isn't bad, but as the name implies, it recharges over time. In other words, after 7 shots, all I could do was wait until the weapon was ready again. And that was the only downside, in my opinion. I would have loved some better damage, but it's okay. Inside the facility, I found 2 more rifles. I used the first to fix mine, before agreeing to help Jason get rid of the mutants. Going downstairs was easy. And I decided to help Davison find the missing shipment. Harlan, however, was not a good employee. He managed to trap himself with no way out and resorted to drink his own urine. Sorry, but your contract has been terminated. With access to the terminal, I was able to inform the mutant that the shipment wasn't there. He was sad, but he agreed to leave. Well, I guess I wasn't the only depressed lackey around. Stay strong, friends. Here I acquired my space suit and it looks decent. It's Spacer's Choice after all. Back upstairs, I informed Jason that the demons were gone. And back downstairs. Being the good employee that I am, I found the first component and was willing to buy the second part. But it was too expensive and my barter skill wasn't high enough. So here's what I did. I fast traveled back to Good Springs, where I grabbed the snow globe and the cigarettes before I completed the tutorial. But, it's New Vegas. I should have seen that coming. Well, in the end, Sunny decided to accept whatever the hell that was. Back inside, the quest was complete. I finally hit to level 2 and increased my border, just enough to get a discount. I also increased my energy weapons and speech. And then I selected the Swift Learner perk. Back at the scrapyard, the module was half the price, thanks to my 50 border. The rocks were fixed, and I informed Chris that he was indeed a pathetic employee. Finally, the rocks were ready to leave. With a Spacer's Choice guarantee, I leveled up a couple of times, mostly increased my major skills. At level 4, I selected the Educated perk. Now that I had completed many quests, I figured I should impress the board by heading to HELIOS One to help them. I immediately lied to get in. Not too long after that, I used my charisma to collect money from Fantastic. The securitrons there were pretty easy to deal with using my recharge rifle. The only issue was the turrets, and too many robots swarmed me, and my weapon wasn't recharging fast enough. When I reached the main frame, I redirected the power to the strip and the McCarran to get on their good side. Ah, the dream of being a Spacer's Choice employee. Do I get any rewards? That's not relevant. Anyway, I completed the quest and leveled up again. And a funny thing happened. On my way to the 188 trading post, an NCR ranger gave me a radio. Not too long after that, he ran into the desert and fought fire ants like they were nothing. I wonder if he spent 6 years in school like Martin did. I don't think he did. I also met a nice man with a mustache, but we'll get back to him later. For now, let's just convince Jazzup to give up his freedom, which granted me a level up. At level 6, I increased border to 59 and energy weapons to 60. Since the majority of enemies in Fallout are male, the confirmed bachelor perk was the best choice here. I'm sorry, not the best, it was Spacer's Choice. After acquiring the snow globe at Hoover Dam, I was ready to head to Freeside, where I grabbed the snow globe from the fort. At this point, I knew I didn't have enough caps to pass the Securitron check, leaving me no choice but to do some part-time gigs. Working for the Kings was one of them. But first, I leveled up after passing a speed check with Pacer. The King's quest is pretty straightforward. Just go from point A to B and that's it. There are only 2 moments worth showing. First, use my borrow skill to convince Oris, the fake bodyguard, to give back the money for his service, plus a little extra caps for my troubles. And second, taking money from Pacer, because that's funny. The quest was complete and I leveled up. When I reached level 8, I increased my border to 70, energy weapons to 69, and speed to 70. Oh, and I also selected the Bloody Mass perk for extra damage with the recharge rifle. And because I had no use for anything else the king could provide, I filed a request for a passport to enter the strip, which he granted. But before entering the strip, I decided to go work for the Van Graffs. My first task was guard duty, and they forced me to wear a different armor. But that was alright. I protected their goods as if they belonged to me. My next assignment was to deliver a package, but things didn't go as planned. As I got close to my contact, he suddenly started running for some reason, and then a golden gecko appeared out of nowhere just to kill the man I was supposed to deliver the damn package to. The quest failed. They really should have added a failsafe here. I even tried speaking to Gloria, but no luck. I did buy a rechargeable rifle for her though, you know, to make things right. Next, I used my passport to enter the strip. There, I headed straight to the Lucky 38, where I met Computer Man. Naturally, being the blind corporate man that I am, I asked if he could get straight to business. He agreed. I also took a wild bet against Bossman by using my butters to demand a raise, which he accepted. Alright. Before leaving, I sold all my snow globes. Next, I made my way to the tops. I was promoted to HR, and it was up to me to fire Benny. But first, I had to straight to the theater, where I met Tommy Chorini, a nice man looking for talents. So for now, let's just accept his quest. I informed Swank of my new position, and he let me go up. Sorry Benny, but your contract has been terminated. Power does feel good, doesn't it? Before progressing with the main story, let's make an investment real quick. First, I hired Billy Knight, a comedian. Next, I used my bar skill to hire the Lonesome Drifter. In the process, he gave me a revolver, which I dropped. 2 down, 2 more to go. Bruce Isaac in Novak and Hadrian, the ghoul at the Atomic Wrangler. The ghoul required me to get his contract from James Garrett, which was pretty easy with speech. I returned to the tops and the quest was complete. I also received a good amount of caps for each person I hired. I leveled up, this time I reached level 10, and increased my butter to 80, energy weapons to 75, and speech to 80. I also selected the Sneering Perilous perk to fit the character. Back at Deluxe 38, the board invited me to watch a forced presentation where I wasn't allowed to criticize. It wasn't the best choice, it was Spacer's choice, so I had to enjoy it. Next, I made my way to Cotwood Cove, where I took the boat to meet the second board member, Caesar. That one was more archaic and stuck in the past, but his numbers were good. Down at the weather station, Bossman informed me that his secure drones were out of control. And if I wanted to be promoted, I had no choice but to risk my own safety. I did it without hesitation. The company knows what's best for me. The robots were indeed dangerous, and they almost killed me, but I refused to use team packs. If you're not a good employee, then you don't deserve to be treated. That's not me saying it, by the way, it's company's policy. But in the end, I did it. I installed the upgrade. It only cost me a few broken bones. But I would bleed for this company. Why, you ask? Well, because they're kind to me. Just watch.
At Spacer's Choice, we care about your health and emotional well-being. That's why we put Martin through 6 years of vendor school, only to make him wear this hat.
In the end, Bossman was happy, and I had a bright future ahead. Yay! Before going back into the Lucky 38, Emily tried to seduce me into betraying Mr. House. Sorry, love, but I am married to my work. Even if I weren't, my contract does allow me to betray House. For some reason, they liked that. Huh. Bleeding for this company was worth it. I got promoted to Diplomat. Next on my list was Rico the Boomers. It might cause a few broken limbs though. Okay, I'll do it. First, I listened to a boring ass history lesson. Who does this kid think I am? Ulysses? Next, I killed the ants and fixed the arrays. As you can see, Spacer's Choice takes care of you. You can do 10 different things and only get paid for 1. As soon as I hit level 12, the company was afraid. I knew too much. So, I had no choice but to select a mysterious stranger. He would haunt my dreams. After retrieving the bomber, the boomers swore their loyalty. Did I get paid? Yes! Yes, I did! Depression. My next assignment was to find out what the Omertas were up to. But instead of being a regular backstabbing coward climbing the corporate ladder, I paid the receptionist for the key to Catino's room. There I found his diary on his desk. Then I used my barter skill to get even more money. Oh, and since my speech was high, I was able to convince Troik to betray his contract. He died. but it's okay. Now, let's convince Kachina to handle the killing. Sal was not a bright man, so that's probably why they hired him. You can't be smarter than a boss. Anyway, Sal and Nero both died, and I increased my butter and speed to 100 at level 13. Because I was doing so well, Boss Man decided to send me out to take care of an entire chapter of the Brotherhood of Steel. They were rebels, basically the IT department, using technology as hope. Here's why I allowed myself to use companions. Space's choice is all about make sure you have the best. And because of that, I was able to hire Veronica as an assistant to open the bunker door. This way, I would need to complete the task for them in order to walk freely without consequences. So I fired Veronica as soon as I had no more use for her. Since my science skill wasn't too high and I was too much of a pussy to do it with the recharger rifle, I headed to Black Mountain, where I hired another employee. Meet Raul. Hire him was easy. Get him off his contract was another story. The Night King had some pretty strong lawyers, so I died. Second try, kill them all, Red Ocean strategy baby. It worked and Raul was happy. Back at the bunker, I found out that using the recharger rifle against soldiers wearing power armor wasn't a good idea, which caused my death a couple of times. At some point, I even decided to use a stealth boy, anything to impress the board. My mental health does not concern them. My problems are my own. Fuck!
I should be stronger than this.
Eventually, I did it. I stole all 3 cars and initiated the self-destruction sequence. And I finally left the IT department. Raul didn't impress me, so I fired his ass. As people say, there is no rest for the wicked. But I wasn't wicked. I was perfect. I was the perfect employee. So perfect that Boss Man asked me to protect the president, which I did. By reaching the lowest level of dignity possible, I stole the detonator. For the greater good. Yes, this company has made me dirty.
Even if my contract didn't forbid it, I think it's part of me now.
Alright. Back at Boss Man's chamber, I was tasked with one final mission before the final battle. A simple one. Just go to the substation. As soon as I left, I leveled up again. This time, I increased energy weapons to 90 and put the rest into science. I also selected the Misfortune perk. Now it was time for the final battle. The board was split. Everyone wanted to rule the world. The Centurions on the bridge, they weren't taking as much damage as I wanted, so I just ignored. I uploaded Mr. Zhao's training program, but in the process, I failed in. Somehow, my work wasn't enough, and the Securitrons killed me. There was no one to blame but myself. I should have been better. But there was more. When I arrived at the camp, the game froze. When I tried to use VATS, the stranger had come to punish me for not being good at my job. So I died.
If there are self-made purgatories, then we all have to live in them. Mine can be no worse than someone else's.
On my second try, I made a run for the hills. I even tried to kill the lagged, but I died. On my second attempt, I said, "Fuck this, I'm not getting paid enough," so he fled. Back at the gates, General Oliver should have read the terms before installing the game. Now he must retreat. And Boss Man showed up one last time, and I finished the game as a Spears' Choice employee. Well, that was fun. I tried to do it better and slower than my last run. You'll probably notice that English isn't my main language, so I have been using these videos as a way to practice my speaking. If you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like, comment and subscribe. I'm Laniustron. Until next time.
Always bothered me, the imprecision. No need to worry about the general, by the way. He'll be held responsible, publicly disgraced. 36